Look at how much media time was wasted on questions like this.
Tell your supporters that there should be no violence and that they should accept.
I don't have to tell them that. But these are great people. These are people that believe in no violence. Unlike your question, you believe in violence.
A little tangling with the journalist who asked that. Most of the media told us, we touched on this earlier, that Kamala Harris was running a fantastic, celebrity-packed, joy-filled campaign. Every time she'd appear with Oprah or Beyonce, it was, it made news. And as soon as she lost, it was like, oh, she was too cautious and she wasn't authentic and she didn't separate from Biden. So it sounds like the press knew this and was covering for her.
Yes, I think they were pretending while she was running because they were in favor of her. And there were things that they should have been critical about but weren't. And in fact, some of those critical things, if they had talked about them, might have helped her adjust in real time and do more interviews, local, national, what have you, to get your feet under you and get better at this kind of thing. But the truth is, and James Carville, who I know is very upset, also had a correct observation, which is that on The View, where Sunny Hostin, an absolute Kamala ally, asked her a very simple question: what would you do differently?
And that turned out to be?
It is the question you exist to answer, is what James Carville said, and he's right, and she couldn't answer it. That's not a flawless candidate.
I can't think of a single thing, and obviously it wasn't from one of her media adversaries.
No.
Why do you think, Meghan, that the press is now doing a 180 on Kamala Harris?
I mean, I think they have to, right? Like, they were wrong in a lot of spots, but I also think that they're not necessarily doing a 180. I think that they're trying to say to the electorate, they're trying to make excuses too. Just, this is what happens when people lose. Everyone tries to blame everyone. But I think that they're looking upon themselves too. But the celebrity game is great for media and it builds momentum in the media, but that's not what's reaching people. And so the media is different than voters. And I think campaigns get confused sometimes on who their audience is.
Also, I said from the first day of this campaign that Tim Walz was not a good pick. He wasn't going to bring anything to the campaign, and I think a lot of people agree with that, as opposed to picking the governor of Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at Lindy Lee. She has been a surrogate for the Harris campaign, and here's what she had to say the other day.
I actually think President Biden, the whole endorsing her 30 minutes after he dropped out, I think that was a big FU to the party. You don't want me, here's somebody that you may not like, but deal with it.
And this reminds me of when the press said that Joe Biden, who's still the nominee, he's sharp, he's competent, all this stuff about he's confused is just GOP propaganda. Again, covering for a president, as perhaps they covered for Kamala Harris, who we all can see is in some mental decline.
Yeah, they had a chance to do this earlier, and I think the party and the press and Biden and Kamala Harris all worked together to put her actually in a very bad position, but it was a bad position of their own making. And it was because this problem was ignored when, by the way, Dean Phillips, who ran starting in late 2023 in a primary against Joe Biden, deserves a lot of apologies from the party and press because he was onto something. He was correct. And I think it would have made their path much, much better if they had had that democratic process. They decided not to. And by July, it was too late to create what they needed to create.
Right, because you ended up with a 107-day campaign, and Congressman Dean Phillips was the only one to say, look, Biden's been a great president, but you have to say if you're a Democrat, but he's clearly declining. And the press largely ignored him because he's taken on an incumbent president and was going nowhere. Meghan, there's a common thread here, and I'm just going to be blunt. The press was apparently, this is the common thread here, protecting these two Democrats until it didn't matter anymore. And now we're like, many of our members are beating them up.
Sure, I think that's natural, right? That's what they're going to say.
Because that's what happens after losing campaign. I've never seen it this intense.
Like the campaigns going at each other? Or, I'm sorry, the Biden team going at the Harris
either
team?
one.
I mean,
either one.
I think that's natural. I think that there were people brought in that were not necessarily favorable of Joe Biden to start with on the Obama team, so they're going to throw. But again, we can do a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda here, and we can dissect it. But the fact of the matter is the Democratic Party missed where the voting electorate was at, and that is in the middle, and they misjudged that. And that is the fault of all these Democrats. That is not just one person's fault, one candidate's fault. That we misjudged and we messaged wrong. And we need to own that.
Well, the Democratic Party missed by a mile, and the media, I would say, missed by several light years, and now face the challenge of trying to connect and just to understand more that there is a whole part of this country that's not part of their bubble that is very happy about Donald Trump winning the popular vote. I didn't remember a lot of speculation about that before, and it surprised me as well. Meghan Hays, Mary Katherine Ham, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Up next, what's behind those nasty leaks as the Harris and Biden campaigns blame each other?